The left and the news media, but I repeat myself, are now in full attack mode trying to strip you of the God-given right to bear arms that's protected by the Constitution. God himself has not weighed in on the issue yet, except by making Brian Stelter look like Brian Stelter, which may be all the comment he felt was required. Since the left and the news media, but I repeat myself, always need someone to demonize in these debates, they're going after the National Rifle Association because it defends the God-given right to bear arms protected by the Constitution that the left and the media, but I repeat myself, are trying to take away. The NRA is not represented by someone who looks like Brian Stelter, but is instead represented by Dana Lash. Just saying. Because the left and the news media, but I repeat myself, are such caring and compassionate people, they've chosen to exploit traumatized young people who know nothing about anything to make their case in what leftist law professor Lawrence Tribe has dubbed a children's crusade. The Children's Crusade, you'll remember, was the legendary 13th century march of Christian children against the Muslims, which ended with most of the children being killed at sea or sold into slavery. So that went well. Leftists in the news media, I'm sorry to keep repeating myself, I have a speech impediment caused by the fact that the news media is corrupt. Leftists in the news media love children because children can be used to exploit people's emotions and get them to give up their God-given rights protected by the Constitution. About 1,300 children are killed by guns in the U.S. every year, which is less than half the number of children killed by abortion in the U.S. every single day. Let me repeat that. About 1,300 children are killed by guns each year, while 3,000 children are killed by abortion every day. Now, my point is not that the children killed by guns have at least some small chance to fight back or escape, while the children killed by abortion are utterly helpless. My point is not that the children endangered by guns can protest and take political action, while the children killed by abortion have no voice and no vote. My point is not that gun organizations like the NRA want more people to be able to defend themselves, while abortion organizations like Planned Parenthood ghoulishly sell the body parts of the children they slaughter while the news media looks on with approval. Oh, wait, those actually are my points. Also that the left and the news media kill babies and then use children to attack your God-given freedoms. Yeah, those are pretty much my points. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
Hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shape, tipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hurrah!
All right, DC McAllister is going to be with us. She is an excellent writer on social issues. I want to talk to her about the state of the relations between the sexes, the two sexes. There are only two on this show. Other places, who knows what's going on. Also, the mailbag is tomorrow. So that means that you want to go on thedailywire.com, hit the podcast button, hit my podcast, then hit the mailbag button to leave your questions about anything you want, and I will answer about religion, your personal life, politics. Answers are guaranteed 100% correct and will change your life every now and then for the better. But before you can do it, you got to subscribe. You have to be a subscriber to get in the mailbag. You also have to be a subscriber to get your letters in the mailbag. So if you want to be in the mailbag with your letters, first subscribe. It's a lousy $10 a month. I solve all your problems. For a lousy $100 a month, I'll solve your problems all year long. And you can drink leftist tears from your leftist tears tumbler. So it's a really excellent deal. The mailbag tomorrow, be there, and all your problems will be solved. I mean, look in the mirror. Do you want to continue like this? Of course not. So send in your questions. February is a short month. It's always like it's here. Hey, it's February. Oh, it's March. And, you know, that's why we're already, well over halfway through, and you still haven't got life insurance. And you know what that means. Soon it will be March, and you still won't have life insurance unless you go to Policy Genius. Policy Genius makes everything about getting insurance easier and quicker. Policy Genius is an easy way to compare and buy life insurance online. They let you compare quotes in minutes. You can save a lot of money doing that. And it just takes a little while, and they don't push anything on you. They're not giving you a sales pitch. You don't go on Policy Genius, and then you open the door, and somebody's standing outside. You just do it yourself. You go on and look at what they've got, compare the prices, get the one that's right for you. And they don't just insure life either. They insure everything in your life. You can compare health insurance, disability insurance, pet insurance, and renter's insurance. Policy Genius has helped over 4 million people shop for insurance and placed over $20 billion in coverage, and they save you money too. So if you're struggling to fit 31 days worth of stuff into a 28-day month, save time by comparing life insurance online with Policy Genius. There's no sales pressure, zero hassle. You can get quotes in 5 minutes. PolicyGenius.com, because if you need life insurance, and you do, it shouldn't take a lifetime to get it. That would obviously spoil the whole thing, right? I mean, by the time you needed the life insurance, it would all be over. You know why the left is doing this whole thing where they're using the traumatized children from the school shooting in Florida, and for all I know, CNN is going to hold a town hall. I mean, it's despicable. Let's face it, because their trauma is touching, but it has nothing to do with whether they know anything about what would help curtail shootings. It has nothing to do with anything except to manipulate your emotions to take away your Second Amendment rights. That's the only reason they're doing it. I mean, they're not bringing on children who say, like, no, we defend gun rights. That's not going to happen. It's all about the children, and it's all about show, and the news media is just in on it. That's how corrupt they are. You know why the left always use children? Whatever you do, you say, like, well, people, we have the right to have guns so we can defend ourselves against the encroachment of government, oppression. And they say, but what about the children? You say, well, people, yes, that might be a good government program, but I have the right to keep my money and decide how I should spend it myself. You go, well, what about the children? You say, whatever, we should be able to defend our borders. Oh, but look at the little children who came over and we don't want to send, it's the dreamers. The dreamers all came back. The reason they use children is because we all agree that children are not free agents and they need protection. And what the left wants to do is they want everybody to envision himself as a children, like that Obama video of the life of Julia. Obama's going to take care of you from cradle to grave because you're a child, and the government is the big adult. And we all agree that some of the things that the left wants to do apply to children. Nobody wants to see 7-year-olds go in and buy a gun. Nobody wants that. So they're basically extrapolating all the time to make all of us feel like children. And of course, children touch our emotions because we feel protective toward them. And what they're saying is, don't you want the government to do that? And what they don't understand, it's always about premises. Everything is about premises. Everything is about making people establish their premise. Our premise, conservative premise, Americans' premise, is freedom. We start with freedom. There's a crisis, there's a tragedy. The left always says no. What we are saying, be free. So they come and say, well, look, there's we want to be free. And when we have CNN praising North Korea, a while before CNN shows up at our house and wants to turn our house into North Korea, we need our gun. People we want to allow to come. But I had no choice. I couldn't make my own choices about my life. I would prefer to take the dangers, take the risks, take the flaws in order to be free. Why? Because freedom is where the meaning of life comes from. Life has no meaning if you are not making choices. And that's when they get to say we're evil, because they say, oh, here's a thing that would fix this. Here is program A that would give me in Washington all the power, take the power away from you, but it would fix this. We say, no, thank you. We'll keep the freedom. They say, oh, you don't want to fix that. You're so mean. You're so mean. You say, let us take a trip just to watch the way these guys argue and to watch the way they talk. Let us take a trip to Knucklehead Row, the op-ed page of the New York Times.
Oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, oh, let us go waltzing down to Knucklehead Row.
On Knucklehead Row, there is no greater knucklehead than Paul Krugman. I think other knuckleheads are simply aspiring knuckleheads to the knucklehead king, Paul Krugman. Virtually everything he says is untrue. Today, he unleashes on the GOP saying they have no character, Republicans stink, everything about them is awful. The modern GOP is, to an extent never before seen in American history, a party built around bad faith, around pretending that its concerns and goals are very different from what they really are. Flag-waving claims of patriotism, pious invocations of morality, stern warnings about fiscal probity are all cover stories for an underlying agenda mainly concerned with making plutocrats even richer. That's what I want. I want plutocrats because why would I want that? Why would I want that? Why would the people who vote for Donald Trump go out there to make plutocrats richer? That is insane. Doesn't matter. Let us go on with the knucklehead Paul Krugman. And the character flaws of the party end up being echoed by the character flaws of its most prominent members. Are they bad people who chose their political affiliation because it fits their proclivities, or potentially good people corrupted by the company they keep? Probably some of both. And they love you, the left. This is why we want to give up our guns, because they love us so much we don't have to fear them. In any case, let's be clear. America in 2018 is not a place where we can disagree without being disagreeable, where there are good people and good ideas on both sides. It's not a place where there are good ideas and good people on both sides, or whatever other bipartisan homily you want to recite. We are instead living in a kakistocracy, a nation ruled by the worst, and we need to face up to that unpleasant reality. That's what Paul Krugman thinks about you. But the thing is, this is what he thinks about anybody who disagrees with him. You know, I was looking around for information on my own. I stumbled on a several years old article by a woman named Carol Markowitz from the Daily Beast. Now, the Daily Beast, as I recall, is actually a left-wing thing, right? Yeah. Here, Carol Markowitz. His convention was called one of the worst ever. Chris Matthews deemed him dangerous and scary. Ellen DeGeneres said, if you're a woman, you should be very scared. His opponent ran an ad against him, portraying him as uniquely dangerous for women. I've never felt this way before, but it's a scary time to be a woman, said a woman in the ad. He was frequently called a bully, anti-immigrant, racist, stupid, and unfit to be president. Who was it? Mitt Romney. That's right. Mitt Romney, one of the nicest people who ever ran for president. I didn't agree with a lot of what he said. I don't think he ran a particularly good campaign, but there was no getting around the fact that he was a noble, decent, honorable human being who did things for his neighbors, who did things for anybody he could help. A New Republic article, this is still quoting from the Daily Beast, proclaimed, yes, Romney's vision for America really is that scary. The Huffington Post headline read, the severe danger of a Romney presidency. Rolling Stone explained why President Romney would be a disaster for women. And Nick Kristof in the New York Times pontificated on how Romney would treat women, spoiler alert, not well. Mitt Romney was, of course, far from the first Republican presidential candidate to get this treatment. George W. Bush, John McCain, and any Republican who has the audacity to challenge a Democrat for the presidency are treated to ever more alarmist rhetoric. Every gaffe, every uncorroborated story is blown up by a media seemingly unaware of its extreme bias. This is from the Daily Beast. Lest you imagine all presidential candidates get this kind of media treatment? Well, not quite. Barack Obama wasn't stupid when he said there were 57 states. He wasn't racist when he listened to Pastor Jeremiah Wright's sermons for 20 years. He wasn't insane when he said he would lower the oceans. He wasn't unfit when he said he would end the Iraq War on the very day he took office. He continually got the benefit of the doubt the Republicans never get from the press. And she goes on to quote, who do you think? Paul Krugman, as flinging every insult he has got in his book against Mitt Romney and George W. Bush. And the thing is, they don't understand. What they don't understand is our argument is not that our guys are good. I mean, nobody picks on Republican politicians like Republicans. Our argument is not that Donald Trump is a good person. It never has been. Our argument is that you, leftists, are so much worse, and your particular bad traits affect our freedoms in ways that Donald Trump's don't. It's a binary system. We got to choose one or the other. We choose the bad guy who will keep our freedoms rather than your bad guys who will go up against them. You know, one of the things you want to do in the short month of February, and also as the year, still kind of the beginning of the year, you still got your resolutions in place. You want to get in shape. And the whole thing about getting in shape, especially in LA, I'll tell you, especially in Los Angeles, is getting to the place where you work out. That is why I have a machine in my house. I also go out and hike. But with Peloton, you can get this incredibly modern, advanced device. It is a bicycle, an in-house stationary bike. I went to the store to look at it. I actually went down into Century City, which, you know, in LA, it's like a mile away, so it took me 3 hours to get there. I went and looked at this thing, and it is an amazing piece of machinery. It's a Peloton bike, and it has a very small footprint, so you can put it almost anywhere in your house. You can put it like in a corner. It's got a 2x4 footprint, the way it's built. And the Peloton bike has a belt drive. So as you're riding on it, it's amazing. It is completely silent. So if you put it in the bedroom, you're not going to wake up your spouse if you exercise later at night. It also has got a 22-inch HD touchscreen in front of it. And the thing is, when you get it, you also purchase a subscription to one after another biking classes. And they're just, you can get them live, you can save them, you have a big library of them. If you like, there's one particular one you like, you can do them so that you have a race, across a background or whatever you want. And it really will keep you, it'll keep you interested in doing it so you don't stop. They really are, I was really impressed with the device. You can discover this cutting-edge indoor cycling bike that brings the studio experience to your home. Peloton is offering listeners a limited-time offer. Go to onepeloton.com. That's O-N-E, Peloton, Peloton.com. Enter the code Klavan at checkout. You say, yes, but how do I spell Klavan? It's Klavan. That will get you $100 off accessories with your Peloton bike purchase. Get a great workout at home anytime you want. Go to onepeloton.com and use the code Klavan to get started. Really is an impressive machine. You just go and take a look at one of them just to see what they're like, because they're very cool. So, I'm thinking about these Russian indictments, the 13 people. I think another guy, some minor guy, was also charged today. And the left is trying to push this as a big deal. Now, it seems to me, obviously, I think it's a bad thing for the Russians to manipulate. It's against the law. They shouldn't manipulate our elections. But it just doesn't seem like a very big thing. And we know that no matter what they did, you can't really rig an American election. We have an expert on this. This is cut number 10.
There is no serious person out there who would suggest somehow that you could even rig America's elections. There's no evidence that that has happened in the past, or that there are instances in which that will happen this time. And so I'd advise Mr. Trump to stop whining and go try to make his case to get votes.
What's funny is I put this in our cut sheets, in our sound sheet, and then Trump started tweeting it out. It was like he was reading my mind. He started tweeting this out. Now, just to go back and remind us that from the beginning, Hillary told us that it was awful. What did she say? It was, I can't remember the word she used. It was some horrible word, outrageous, dreadful, something. For Trump to say that he might not accept the outcome of the election because he felt the press was so much against him and he wanted to see how it went, and he knew the Democrats cheat, which they do. But Hillary said that's awful, and she swore she would accept the election results. It's cut 1.
Are you willing to accept the outcome as the will of the voters? Secretary Clinton?
Well, I support our democracy. And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But I certainly will support the outcome of this election. And I know Donald's trying very hard to plant doubts about it, but I hope the people out there understand this election's really up to you. It's not about us so much as it is about you and your family.
And then after she lost and started hitting the Chardonnay, not so much. Cut 2.
But I was on the way to winning until the combination of Jim Comey's letter on October 28th and Russian WikiLeaks raised doubts in the minds of people who were inclined to vote for me but got scared off. And the evidence for that intervening event is, I think, compelling, persuasive.
So now, I mean, what the point that I'm trying to make is the same point I was just making about Paul Krugman, is they will say anything, and they say it all the time. And the exceptional nature of Donald Trump, even though he is an outlandish, an outsized character who does a lot of things that people have not done in the office before, it is not, they have been screaming wolf all this time, and they will say anything. They will say anything. Here's a child. Let me hold up this child. Is it a dead child? I'll hold up a dead child. Jim Carrey was posting pictures of children who had been shot, to try and convince me. They will say anything. So now they come out and they indict these 13 guys, indictments that will never be proved. These people will never be tried. They're back safely in Russia. So it's just an indictment. But even the the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, is saying this did not affect the election. And he's saying there's no evidence so far. It's, obviously the investigation goes on. He says there's no evidence that Trump was involved. Just play that second clip of him.
Now, there is no allegation in this indictment that any American was a knowing participant in this illegal activity. There is no allegation in the indictment that the charged conduct altered the outcome of the 2016 election. I want to caution you that everyone charged with a crime is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in court.
Great. It's going to be 5 minutes. Can you tell her? Oh, sorry. Back on. I'm talking to my producer. Now I want you to look at, this is a beautiful, beautiful cut. This is absolutely perfect on how narrative is constructed. This is Karen Tumulty of the Washington Post talking to Brian Potato Head Stelter at CNN. And she goes over the top on describing this. And then Stelter says, oh boy, now you said this, and Fox News is going to attack you for it, as if the fact that it were Fox News immediately makes the attack irrelevant and not worthwhile. Just listen to the way this plays out.
You look at the president's tweets this morning and try to imagine if Franklin D. Roosevelt, after Pearl Harbor, had gotten on the radio and said that Tokyo was laughing at us, to use a little less crude phrase than he did. Sure. That is not what is called upon a president to do right now.
You know what's going to happen, though, Karen? Someone on Fox News is going to take what you just said. They're going to say, how dare you compare this to Pearl Harbor?
It is an attack on our country. It is an attack on our country with use of 21st century means. And it is definitely a national security threat, which is something that the commander-in-chief is supposed to be dealing with.
So it's like, don't tell the truth about us while we're busy lying. You know, it's like that. Tucker Carlson actually went out and said, this is absurd. And they said, it was just like Brian Stelter said. He called her out for calling it Pearl Harbor. She called it Pearl Harbor before he said it. She called it Pearl Harbor again after he said it. Fox News is right. And what Brian Stelter does, and what they always do, is they demonize the opposition. So it's Fox News. Fox News said it. Fox News said 2 and 2 is 4. Are you going to believe 2 and 2 is 4? Fox News said it. This is the way they construct narrative. And it's all about narrative with them. It's none of it is about the facts. So what are the Russians doing? What were the Russians doing? They were staging rallies for and against Donald Trump. For him when they thought he wasn't going to get elected, and for Bernie Sanders when they thought he wasn't going to get elected, just to undermine the woman they thought was going to get elected, Hillary. And after Trump got elected, they started staging rallies against Donald Trump. They just want to cause as much trouble as they can. Let's take a look at one of those rallies in New York, right? The thing is, the Russians were so incompetent, all they could get were like a couple of hundred people to show up for a rally against Donald Trump. I mean, after all, with the left ginning up everybody, you think thousands of people, but the Russians could only get a few hundred. But that's okay, because MSNBC and CNN were there to cover it with incredible sympathy. It was cut number 8.
NBC's Morgan Radford is at Union Square in New York City. That is where the anti-Trump protest is just about to kick off. And Morgan, with a good day to you. What's happening there right now?
Well, Alex, it's already started. In fact, you can see hundreds of people behind me here in Union Square. I want to show you some of the signs and the posters they're holding up here. You can see one here that says, "Acknowledge Trump's hate, protect our public schools, teachers against Trump." You see people that are really saying that this is the time for them to come together. They're trying to say they're being more inclusive, and that's because thousands of people, as you know, Alex, are feeling marginalized by President-elect Donald Trump's comments. And they said this is a love rally.
After they pointed in that direction, they yelled, "We're not going to be tolerating any sexism or homophobia or racism." And that is really the message. All of sort of these protesters coming together, frustrated, angry, and all directed at the president-elect.
Hey, Morgan, can you tell who has organized this rally? It has been suggested that so many of the protests across this country have been impromptu rallies. I mean, it's been supported by a very diverse array of constituents. Is there someone in charge here?
Right now, this is lots of different groups of people who have come together with no necessarily official leader.
Yeah, it was Boris Badenoch. It was Vladimir Putin was in charge. I mean, they're so sympathetic. What is the difference? Can you spot the difference between CNN, MSNBC, and Vladimir Putin? There's no space between them. And now we hear that Russian bots that they use to send out as much information as they can have immediately jumped on the gun debate and are immediately, trying to divide people on this very difficult issue, because there's emotions on both sides. There's powerful arguments. There's not that many powerful arguments for banning guns, but there are powerful arguments on both sides. And I just want to play this one cut, because as I usually don't pick on MSNBC because they're openly left-wing, and I think that's fair. It's CNN that pretends to be a news station, but is a left-wing propaganda outfit. It's NBC that pretends to be a news station, but is a left-wing propaganda outfit. Those are the guys I go after. But I just want to show you Chris Matthews coaxing this kid, coaching this kid on air to get him to say what he wants to say in order to manipulate your emotions.
You know what you're up against? The power of the gun lobby, the NRA. They want guns basically available to anyone, open carry in Florida. 18-year-old, you can buy an AR-15, an assault rifle. They basically want as free an availability as guns as possible in this universe, more free than anywhere in the world. They want to make it easy to get a gun and carry a gun and openly display it. They are all the way with this thing. You're up against that.
Yeah, you know, it's absolutely disgusting how easy it is to access, you know, these assault weapons. No other country in the world, it's not easy like it is in America. And of course, America has constant mass shootings. It seems to be like a daily thing now. But, you know, we know what we're up against. The NRA has consolidated a lot of power. They have a lot of politicians in their back pocket. But as long as politicians continue to get money from the NRA, we're going to vote them out. So they're going to get what's coming to them.
You know, my point is not that the Russians and the news media both have the same goals of spreading disinformation and discord. Oh, wait. That's exactly my point. I just want you to imagine for 1 minute, what if the New York Times really did have all the news that was fit to print? What if CNN really could be the most trusted name in news? What if after the debacle of their coverage of the Obama administration, this corrupt administration, their attempts to cover up Obamagate, his misuse of power, what if they reformed themselves? What if they started trying to tell the news straight up, both sides of opinion, all the facts they could get their hands on, just delivering the news as it came in instead of manipulating our emotions? The Russians would have no power. The Russians could come in here and spread disinformation all they wanted, but we would know that we could go to our news media and get trustworthy information. It's them. It is them. They are the ones who caused this problem. The Russians would be helpless if they weren't such corrupt liars. All right, we got DC McAllister coming up. We got to say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube. Come on over to thedailywire.com and you can listen or subscribe. You can watch the whole thing right there. And if you subscribe for a year, you get the Leftist Tears mug. It automatically fills up every time I speak.